Mello wanted to finally be in a video. So I'm scratched down so the camera can get him. What's going on, everybody? How are you? Welcome back. Like I said, this week we're going to try to make up for a little bit of lost time from the past. Again, I've been a little bit slow on this channel, and I apologize. I hope you can forgive me. So today we're here, the midterm section of the 2024 MLS season. I don't know. Are you looking at me, or are you looking at, is there a bug? He's just watching over us. Don't worry. We've got a lot of teams here at the halfway point of 17 games. We have a couple around 18 and a few lagging behind, particularly the Columbus Crew, who have plenty of games in hand to make up as they climb back up the Eastern Conference standings after the first half of the season. They were in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, getting to the final. So I did this around the first quarter of the season, and now I'm doing it at the halfway point. And the idea is to do it kind of at each quarter poll of the year. Just a good macro view of what you been this season, and what were your expectations? Where has everything lied? You know, just a way to kind of touch on all 29 teams from, top to bottom, good, bad, indifferent, boring, exciting, whatever. Last time I tried to be super unique and start from bottom to top and alphabetically. This time we're going to go more traditional. Again, we're going to start with Atlanta United and give midterm grades for the 2024 MLS season. First up, Atlanta United. We're going to come in hot with a D- here. This is pretty self-explanatory. Atlanta United. I kind of went back and forth on who I wanted to be my supporter shield pick. Orlando City, Atlanta United. Jesus Christ, this couldn't go any worse. Atlanta are down, languishing on 17 points. They are just 1 point above of bottom Eastern Conference club New England. They're tied with Orlando, the team that was actually my shield pick. We'll get to them later. Straight up, Atlanta should just be much better than they are. They have so much talent. They're starting 11. It makes a lot of sense together. There's a lot of complementary pieces. There's a lot of stars. One thing that I'm not sure that I was completely aware of coming into the season was just how important Stian Gregerson was going to be to this team. I thought that he was a very good signing. I felt really good about him being one of the better center backs in the league from day one. But maybe I felt a little weird about, it's probably not fair for a foreign center back coming in to put that pressure of, wow, they desperately need him. Well, they look a whole lot worse when he's not in the lineup. But the coaching has not been great. Like, they look super disjointed. They are playing below the sum of their parts, which is obviously the opposite of what you want from a head coach. And it cost Gonzalo Pineda his job. So Atlanta United are without a head coach, and they're facing a summer of uncertainty. Yorgos Giacomakis is already gone. Thiago Almada, we're going to talk about it every window, whether he's going to stay or go. They're missing several key players at international tournaments. Bartosz Szlis, Gregerson is injured. Bartosz Szlis is at international tournament. Saba Lobojanice is also at the Euros, while Luis Abram is at the Copa America. That's 3 key players gone international duty, and then again, Gregerson injured. That's 4 key starters. Giacomakis has always been already been transferred. So for the next month, they're 5 starters down. That's really difficult, and where they are, again, so they're only 3 points below the playoff line because things are jumbled. This could get worse before it gets better. I have complete trust in Garth Lagerwey to make a good decision on the head coach and 2 DP spots that he could fill this summer. But let's see how far below the playoff line they are a month from now. So it is a crucial month for this team. They need Thiago Almada to put this team on his back, be the player he was last year, an MVP finalist, the league record signing and transfer fee. So a lot's riding on Thiago Almada, and it's going to be a really difficult month for Atlanta. We'll see how it goes. Next up, Austin FC C+. So for me, this one, it's probably a little bit mean because myself and a lot of people across the league just assumed Austin FC were going to be one of the worst teams in the Western Conference. They are 8th. They are on 23 points. They are having a better start or better first half of the season than they were expected to. And honestly, probably they should have been. So the reason why I'm giving them a C+ rather than say a B- is the underlying numbers. The underlying numbers hate this team. And the box score numbers are starting to catch up a little bit. They're on -6 goal difference. That's the teams around them. Houston Dynamo tied on the same point, 0 goal difference. Columbus, Vancouver, only 2 points ahead of them, 0 goal, even goal difference and +4. Like, the underlying numbers, Austin are suggested to be one of the worst teams in the league. But game's not played on a spreadsheet, mate. You have Brad Stuver, you're going to overperform your goals against. You have Sebastian Driussi, you have a good chance of overperforming your goals for. So, with that being said, I figured cut the difference and call it a C+. I think there's a lot of upside here. Ousmane Boukhare, that deal was done well early. He's going to be ready to go the minute the transfer window opens officially in MLS, and he's able to be registered. That's very exciting. I think that there's more to do this summer. They could add a DP if they want, or they could add another U22 initiative. We'll see what direction they go in. I think that their starting lineup is going to be better than it was, better on July 18th than it was than it is now, or it was a month ago. I think that they have a lot of pretty decent players. If Bogert is really, really good, that changes the math on this team a whole lot, because they need another really, really good player around Driussi in the attack, because I really like Diego Rubio and his fit with Driussi. Hardor Brian has proved me wrong. I thought he wasn't going to be very good. He's been a solid starter, and that's plenty when you get in the re-entry draft. But if Bogert is just fine, then this attack is If he's really good, this team could really jump. So, again, I understand why Austin fans might not love the C+, and you probably have every right to give me crap, but that's just where I stand right now. Charlotte FC, that's an A. That's the easy one. 28 points. They're 5th in the Eastern Conference, and this is a team that, again, a lot of people thought bottom 3, bottom 5 in the Eastern Conference. What makes them different than Austin is the underlying numbers like them. So their elite skill is defense, and the underlying numbers seem to think that that's real. And I think it is by looking at the numbers and by watching the games, because I like their tactics. And again, it's probably a little bit boring for fans, and it's probably a little bit boring for neutrals, but that's okay. Most important is to get points. What Dean Smith has done with this team, essentially, without DPs for 2/3 of the season, has been phenomenal. What a hire. The alignment from the front office to the coaching staff to the players is stronger than it's ever been in Charlotte's very brief history. And when you have that alignment, the floor is so much higher. And even it accentuates every player. Your okay players are good. Your good players are very good. Your very good players are great. I think that Lial Abada, I've seen enough from him that I think that he's a really good signing. I can't wait to see what he looks like with, say, another DP in the attack. And I know that they're working on a DP center forward. Not anything that's close or targets or whatever. It's just, I know that they want to sign a DP center forward this summer, so just don't aggregate me real quick. But Charlotte FC with Adilson Milanda, Andrew Privet, and Christian Kalina as the nucleus for that defensive unit around the game model that Dean Smith has played. And again, it's conservative, but that's okay. They're getting points, and this can really, really work in MLS. If you have a really strong defense and a couple special players in attack, that's a recipe for success. So I can't wait to see what Charlotte does this summer. Tim Ryan, they're still working on it, and then bring in at least one DP, and we'll see where that goes from there. Chicago Fire, what a difference a month has made here. They've been unbeaten in 4 games without Xherdan Shaqiri. Again, I know raise the banner, right? But look, I've been super critical of this team all season, I think very fairly, but it's only right to give them praise when things are going well. Things are going well. I'm starting to see more of what's repeatable, what's sustainable, particularly if they're able to get out of Xherdan Shaqiri's deal this summer and bring in potentially 2 DPs if they want to. They still have a lot of work to do this summer. The squad has a lot of work to do. Hugo Kuipers is looking really, really good. Again, I've been of the opinion that I think that he was a good signing, but we won't really see the best of him until that there's more chance creation around him. I still think that's the case in that he can jump up another level with more chance creation, but I really like the 3 at the back. Kellen Acosta's really settling in better and better in this system. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot more that I like about this team than I did 2 months ago, and I think 2 months ago was more or less my nadir of where I viewed this team. And maybe I was a little bit too harsh, but hey, I'd argue probably not. Still, they are only 2 points ahead of last place New England Revolution in the East, but they're also 2 points from a playoff spot. So I'm going to choose to look at this optimistically after looking at them so pessimistically, and I'm going to throw caution to the wind for the DP search and kind of throw out the recent history, right? Hope springs eternal. Chicago Fire fans, you deserve it. You deserve to hope, and let's see what happens this summer. But for right now, Chicago Fire C-. FC Cincinnati, that's an easy A for me. This team won the Shield last year, lost several key starters and fairly irreplaceable starters in terms of value for contract to contract, with Brandon Vasquez being a non-DP, with Alvaro Barrial being a U22 initiative, and all of that, and Yerson Mosquera being on loan. Well, guess what? They just re-established their identity, further invested in their defense by bringing in Miles Robinson, who's been one of the best defenders in the league this year. It's worked out exactly as perfect. Lucho Costa is the best non-Lionel Messi player in Major League Soccer. He's been awesome. He didn't even need anybody else in the attack. There's so much upside for this team, and they're currently leading the Shield race on points per game. They are 2 points below Miami in the points, but they have 2 games in hand. It feels pretty likely that they would win 1 of 2 games in hand, just based on how the season is going. FC Cincinnati, look, they're my pick for Shield now. I said it a couple months ago that I was jumping ship off Orlando. You can still make fun of me handedly for the Orlando pick. Please, I'm sure people won't let me forget it, but I'm not trying to sweep it under the rug and pretend like, well, I switched to Cincy and that worked out. Anyway, FC Cincinnati, they're probably going to add it. They're going to add a DP forward this summer. I don't even need to be careful there. Just got to get rid of Bupenza, figure out a deal for another DP. So they're this good, and the upside is all there. Kevin Kelsey has been awesome since he got here. I think Corey Baird fits this team really well. Like, I'm not going to take the L on this yet because he hasn't scored many goals, because I think that he's just a good fit for this team and a good player. So we'll see kind of what happens there. Matt Miazga has an injury. We'll see what the severity of that is. They're going to be without Miles Robinson while he's with the Copa America. We'll see what happens over the next month, but I trust this organization, from the front office to the coaching staff to the locker room, all of that. I'd be really surprised if they went through a really bad month just because Miles Robinson is gone. Next up, Columbus Crew. I'm going to give them an A. I know that technically they're in 6th place in the Eastern Conference, and they lost the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, so I don't even have that to point to, though it is an achievement to get there as they did. But I'm still giving them an A because I don't see a lot of difference between the team that won MLS Cup last year and this team. The only difference is they've played 4 fewer games than Inter Miami and 2 fewer than FC Cincinnati. They've played 3 fewer than the Red Bulls, who are 3rd with 30 points. And I know I'm just rattling off numbers here, which is super boring, but my whole point is, in a month, I think Columbus pretty safely are going to be top 3 in the Eastern Conference again, or I don't know, whenever they're making up these games. The Columbus Crew are elite top-end contenders in this league. They're in every conversation with Miami and Cincy, and probably in that order. And then I think that there's another tier with like Red Bulls, NYCFC at this point. And then you look at the West at Real Salt Lake, LAFC. LAFC is probably in that top thing. But you get my point. My whole point here is that I don't care that Columbus are technically 6th right now, because it's a fake number. I think they have everything. Cucho Hernandez, Darlington, Nagby, the backline. Like, I don't know. This team, it would take a lot for me to lose faith in this team, and we're nowhere close to that yet. So I'm still giving them an A for the first half of the season. Colorado Rapids, B+ from me. Look, it wasn't easy. Even though that they did their business as early as possible. They hired Chris Armas pretty early. Most of their key signings were here day 1 of preseason. That's all fantastic, and that's very good. It's still not easy to integrate so many new starters under a new coach with a new playing philosophy. And they did it pretty seamlessly. Like, that first half of their first game sucked. Their second game at home against Nashville, they kind of blew it late and had a draw. And I think it took a while for people to come back on their scent. This is a legitimately very good team. They're going to keep Rafael Navarro, or at least close to it. They're working on a deal. Everybody wants that outcome between Columbus, Palmeiras, and Navarro's camp. It's just about finding that deal, and I'd assume that they're going to, just based on the things that I've heard. So the roster's going to be intact. They have some flexibility to add around it. They need another defensive midfielder with Lamine Diack not really working out. Not working out at all. He played 15 minutes, and now he's going to go back to Nantes with his loan expiring. So there's still some room for them to make some changes. And this team is just good as is. They have, like, Cole Bassett's taken a leap this year. It's been really fun to watch. They have, like, Moise Bombito. It's awesome, man. So, like, this is why, like, you can still find value in the draft. You really can. Like, Colorado do it all the time. Like, just if you care, if you don't throw it away. That's all I'll say on that. But Colorado Rapids, B+ for me. Sorry, I can't even remember where to keep clicking to do this stupid thing. This is what happens in live. I'm not cutting this because I'm not going to take the time to edit this out. I want you guys to see me getting angry at technology. It's part of the authentic experience. Next up, DC United, C+. They're on 19 points after 18 games. The underlying numbers think that they should be much better, but I've been saying that for a few months. So again, while 10th place right now is still much better than I thought they were going to be, and a lot of other people thought they were going to be, I'm done, I think, with the underlying numbers argument, because this might just be who they are, right? Like, when you don't have you have the top quality in the box with Christian Benteke, defensively, not really. So you're going to underperform your goals against. And around Benteke, they don't really have any proven finishers, so you're probably going to underperform your goals for as well. But again, I don't want to take this in the negative route, because if you told me before the season started, hey, DC United are going to be in the mix for a playoff spot. They're going to be fun to watch. The style's going to look really good. Benteke's going to look great. A couple other things, like all these positives and where they are, I'd be like, hell yeah. Like, that's a good start to the season for a team that I thought were going to be struggling, because Ali Mackay and that front office inherited an awful cap sheet. All they've done is trying to get rid of bad deals and reset the cap so they can bring in players that they want. And they've done that so far. The summer is going to be more the same. They probably won't have flexibility unless they move more players out. And I don't know if that's going to be the plan or the case, but hey, who knows? So you'll really get to see what the next step of this evolution is next winter. For what this year was, it's a transition year. Really, really good. I'm giving them a C+ still, because Like, it's just disappointing to look at the underlying numbers, expected goals, and be like, and watching them at the end of games, we're like, you're so close. Like, you could be Toronto, where Toronto were supposed to be really bad. We'll get to them later, but Toronto are 5 points ahead of them. It's like, that could have been you. We could have been talking about you in the same place. But I don't want the macro to get lost in the micro. This is a positive story. Speaking of negative stories, FC Dallas, cost Nico Estevez his job. They have 17 points after 17 games, only 20 goals scored. They're either last or second to last in expected goals, depending on when you look at it. They're slow, they're boring. The players aren't living up to their potential. It's just a lot of disappointment. And I feel like I said this when I was talking about Dallas on this program, on various shows in the last few weeks. Like, I'm disappointed in myself that I kept falling for it. Like, they make so much sense when I'm looking at my rosters, my depth charts on Google Docs and Google Sheets, whatever it is. And then in person, it just doesn't work out that way. I bought into it again with Nico Estevez and what everybody was saying this season. So maybe that's a little bit of bias that I'm disappointed that I fell for it again. But look, you can still talk me into this team can make sense. You can still see where it goes. They desperately need defensive help. I'm very curious to see what direction they're going to go before they hire a new coach, what the interim coach is going to do, and what direction they go with their next head coach. So all of that is still up in the air. But for right now, we can only go on with what we have. That's an F for FC Dallas this season, and it cost Nico Estevez his job. Houston Dynamo, I struggled a little bit with this. B-, right? Like, so 23 points, that's level with Austin, and I was a little bit critical of Austin, right? 20 goals for, like, it's like them and Dallas at the bottom of the league in expected goals. But man, like, I got a soft spot for Houston. They were without players most of the season with, again, Quinones has been out all season. Sebas Ferreira, they've got nothing from them because of injury and then kind of being in and out of the lineup again. They have signed a DP forward, Ezekiel Ponce. I can't wait to see what he looks like when he gets into the team. I think that this team is good. I just think that they're good. And again, maybe this is going to be a Dallas situation where I'm just wrong and I refuse to admit it and that it's going to take me too long. But I think Houston Dynamo are good. I think that they're real. I think that if Ponce hits and hits pretty quickly, that's going to jump them up a tier. Like, the top three in the West being RSL, LAFC, LA Galaxy, I think that that's their own tier. I think the Houston Dynamo could crash into that if Ponce's good and, if they maybe get another signing, right? Like, so that's kind of where I view Houston, and maybe that's the lens that colors my view of them. B- right now. But look, if you push me on a C+, I'd say, hey, maybe fair enough, right? But I think that they've been more good than bad. Speaking of more good than bad, LAFC. In A, despite, their underlying numbers, they were underperforming. They have far and away the best expected goal difference in MLS. A, despite no Olivier Giroud until, after the Euros, and then maybe he won't even debut until Leagues Cup or after Leagues Cup, right? Like, we'll see what happens in terms of when he's going to arrive. They've been playing without a natural center forward, and Mateusz Bogus has been great. Danny Bouanga is still a goddamn cyborg. He's a menace. I can't say all of these things sound like they're negatives, but they're probably, he's an animal. He's incredible. His athleticism, his technique, his ability to strike the ball with both feet, like, what a luxury this player is, and how much fun he must be to watch week by week if you're in the LAFC supporting stands, and how terrifying if you're a fan of a team that's playing against LAFC whenever he gets the ball in open space. LAFC put out a video where he was dribbling in their last game, and they caught him, like, they had to zoom in on him, and he looked at the defender and went like this, and it was Orlando, looked at Cesar Araujo, went like, all right, come on, beats him on the dribble, beats the next player, and then as Cesar Araujo is trying to get back, he cuts back and wins a penalty. Just like, man, could you imagine having that much confidence and being that good at something in your life? I don't know. I've hijacked this too much with Danny Bouanga praise, but LAFC, their midfield is awesome. Again, I was saying this last time that I think that their defense is going to get corrected. And just like that, they have 20 goals against, which is only one worse than Real Salt Lake, and it's 7 better than the LA Galaxy. LAFC are an elite contender in this league. And oh yeah, they get to add Olivier Giroud in a month or two, right? Like, things are going good there. LA Galaxy, things are going good here too, I think. Like, they've come back down to earth just a little bit here, but they still have 31 points after 18 games. The attack is phenomenal. I think that the defense can still get better. Like, if Gaston Brugman is playing, their defense is not bad. If Jaylen Neal is playing, their defense I don't think is bad, right? They at least have more recovery speed with putting the young legs of Jaylen Neal in for Martin Cáceres. Like, there's a lot more to like about this team than not. And they're still working on Marco Reus, so there's maybe more firepower to come. But even if they don't do anything significant, or if they, use their TAM for a different signing, I think this team, as currently constructed, can compete. I don't think that they're at the same level of LAFC, Miami, Cincy, and Columbus. But MLS, that second tier, you have a chance to win the lottery, man. Playoffs, so many things happen. When you have Ricky Pooch and everything else with this team, Joseph Panto, Gabriel Peck, Daniel, when you have that attack, you'd want the defense to be better, but they can outscore anybody if they need to. So I really like this LA Galaxy team. I've said it a lot. B+ just because I was hoping that they'd be ahead of LAFC heading into this period, because I think LAFC is only going to go from strength to strength. So the top of the West is going to be super fun. I think it's RSL and LAFC and the Galaxy, but it's going to be super fun to watch this all play out, and they're a super fun team, man. I promise I didn't brag him with treats either. This is very nice. Usually he wants to hang out in bed. There's better air conditioning in the bedroom. Thanks, Mello. He just wanted a front row seat to these mediocre takes. Next up, Inter Miami. This one's an A, and for me, I'm open to arguments about the defense is so bad. There's more room for control. They've gone down way too much in games. There are too many flaws, defense. There's too many cracks, all this, and I completely agree. There's plenty of room for improvement, all that. Bottom line, top of the Eastern Conference, top of the Supporters' Shield standings on points. Lionel Messi has been every bit as historic as we'd hope. Luis Suarez has been phenomenal. Busquets, Alba, the young players. Gressel's been an incredible free agent signing. You just go on down the line, and there's just too much good for me to be here and nitpick, right? Sometimes we get, it's boring if we're talking about Inter Miami every week. It's boring to say what I'm saying right now. Really good. Yeah, they could fix this, right? They don't make for good talk shows. They don't make for good YouTube videos. That's why I really like this format of kind of every quarter of the season to say something like this, because it helps you kind of zoom out and be like, wow, this team is awesome. And yes, there's things that we want them to improve, for them to be an A+, or just they have it in them to have been a historic regular season team. But I'm not going to hold them to that. And what they've done has been really, really good. The next month is very important, but I keep saying that. I keep saying, oh, they're missing this player, they're missing that player. Oh, somebody's injured. Oh, there's this. They were down to 9 men and beat the Philadelphia Union. Yeah, you can correctly point to the Philadelphia. That should never happen. That should never happen for the Philadelphia Union or any team at home up 2 men for that counterattack to happen, for Leo Alfonso to score the goal. It happened, and it keeps happening with Inter Miami. The amount of times that they've gone, they are double. So they lead the league in points won from losing positions. They have more than double what second place is. It's 24 points now, right? So, yeah, you'd like to see them not have to come from behind that much. But hey, it's all right. It's working out for Miami. So I don't really want to nitpick too much. Minnesota United, B+. I went back and forth about B+ or A. Again, they're 4th in the West. I shredded them in the offseason about no sporting director, no head coach, no Reynoso, all this stuff. It didn't matter. And maybe that's probably not good to talk about for MLS. That, hey, maybe you don't even necessarily need to have a sporting director or a head coach or your star player by the start of preseason. But still, this has been a really fun team, an energetic team. Eric Ramsey has had a lot of, little twists to his tactics. I think that he's been an awesome hire. I like a whole lot of what Minnesota have done, and they're still building. This is supposed to be a transitional year. Teemu Pukki, he's a really professional guy. I think he's still a very good finisher. He does not make sense in this system yet. He's still working. He's still bought in, all this stuff. They're finding Tani Alawusi. Jong Sang-bin has had a career year. He's been so good, so fun. Joseph Rosales at left back has been a revelation. Kervin Arriaga going to center back. This team is just fun to watch on a weekly basis. And again, this is ahead of schedule. And at some point, we're going to have to recalibrate our expectations, but I don't want them to be victims of their own success and me being well, if you're not challenging for the Shield now because you had this good start, it's a disappointment, right? I just don't really like to operate that way. So B+, Minnesota United. CF Montreal, C-, probably a little kind. I still hold stock on Montreal. I still do. And again, I could very much be wrong. They have 18 points. That's level with Chicago. That's 1 point more than Atlanta, 1 point more than Orlando. Their negative 12 goal difference. The only Eastern Conference team that is worse is the New England Revolution, and the only team in MLS that is worse is San Jose Earthquakes. Their underlying numbers feel the same. All of this. I think it's fair to point out Mateus Kokoro's been injured. Joseph Martinez has been injured. Yankov has kind of been in and out of the lineup. There's so much turmoil going on at the club. Again, the next time we do this, if they have a really bad run of form over the next 6 or 8 weeks or whenever we'll get to the 3-quarter mark, I will put my hand up and say I was wrong. But again, I don't think that we were expecting so much from Montreal this season. 2 points below the playoff line and 2 points above last place. That kind of feels right. I would have liked to see more kind of building blocks and stuff under this team, but I think injuries. He doesn't agree with my Montreal take. I think that injuries have played a role here as well, because what can you do? And organizational dysfunction has probably played a role in trying to be pragmatic to get wins. So here we are with CF Montreal. New England Revolution, no longer an F. D- for me. They're showing some life. A couple back-to-back wins. They got the Red Bulls during an international break. That was a good time to play them. Noel Buck back in the team. I don't know why he wasn't playing at all this season. Esmir Baratevich. Esmir is playing well. I think that they're going to try to add a DP this summer. Obviously, that would only happen if they can get out of Giacomo Verone's deal, whether that's a buyout or a transfer. Dude, the best part about MLS, or the worst part, depending on what seat you're looking at, is, dude, they're 4 points below the playoff line. I've been shredding them all year. And again, I think that it's been fair. If you're a New England fan, you probably don't think it's been fair, and that's fine. I get it. But I've been killing them all season. They're 4 points below the playoff line. Season's not over. You have Carlos Hill. The foundation of the defense is solid. Ivicic has been very good. He's showing why he should have been a starting goalkeeper in this league for a while. Anything's possible, man. And again, like what I was saying with Miami, like that's not a super fun thing to say on a podcast or a YouTube show. Be like, here's my take. You know, anything's possible. Who knows, right? It's a forgiving playoff system. Like, that's not like a fun take to have. But I think that's the most realistic here. And like, the hope that I'm giving a lot of these teams at the bottom, and like, I don't think I'm ready to rule anybody out. We'll see for a couple teams that are coming up. But like, it's really hard to murder teams in May when it's like, dude, if you rip off 4 weeks of good soccer, you're right back into it. And you might even be above the playoff line. So, New England Revolution, still very disappointed in general. You're not going to let you get off that easily. But I will say, better than they have been before. And look, that's not nothing. It's something. Nashville SC, they're D. It's so jumbled in this Eastern Conference. Like, 2 bad weeks, they could go from 9th, where they are right now, to below New England. They could go to bottom if New England keeps this up. They're in a coaching search. As I reported, BJ Callahan, barring unforeseen circumstances, will be the next head coach. I think that's an exciting hire. This is a team that, since Walker Zimmerman got back in the team, they've been very good. And like, sometimes it's that simple, right? We'll see what BJ does with this group. I like the bones of this team. They need a central midfielder who can pass forward more reliably, which seems to be an important skill for a central midfielder in soccer. And hopefully that comes in the summer transfer window. But at worst, you've got Joe Willis, Walker Zimmerman, Jack Mayer. Then you've got Hani Mukhtar, Sam Surge in the attack, and then a lot of dudes in the midfield who at least work hard. They're just because that they just don't have a profile of somebody who can really like unlock defenses with breaking lines, passes to get to Mukhtar and get him in better positions. Maybe that comes with the game model of BJ Callahan. We'll see. But they have too much talent to be like, they suck. So that's kind of also why it's a D, because it's disappointing that they are where they are. Next up, NYCFC, A-. Do you remember how bad the vibes were the first 3 weeks of the season? Fans were cushing out, all that stuff. The attack didn't look good. Munsaf Bakrar didn't look good. Hannes Wolf didn't look good. Didn't look good. All this. Then they ripped off a bunch of wins in a row. They had a super fun, again, it was a loss at home to Columbus with a red card, though. But it was a super fun game. Like, this team belongs in the top 5 in the East. And it's cool to see it all come together because they have an abundance of talent. And I keep saying it, that midfield trio of James Sands, Keaton Parks, and Santi Rodriguez is awesome. My God, I love watching Maxi Morales play. I'm so happy he's back from injury. He's something different that they don't have, and he's going to really aid this team going down the stretch and give them another option. Still worried about center forward, of course, but I don't think that even if they do sell Talis Magno and open a DP spot, I don't think that they would block Bakrar and Mijatovic at center forward. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But I don't know what they do with that DP spot if they open it. We shall see. But they have a ton of talent. My one worry for them, again, is that consistent goal scorer. But, look, this team is really, really good, and they're going to be kind of floating around. Like, I think Miami and Cincy and Columbus are the top 3 in the East. And then I think it's Red Bulls and NYCFC in that next tier. And right now, probably by themselves, pending what Charlotte do with their DP spots. But this is the time for NYCFC and Red Bulls to kind of stretch their lead at third and fourth to, like, as Columbus is coming, as Charlotte is lingering, and as Philly maybe at some point are going to kind of figure it out. But this is a good team. This is a good team. New York Red Bulls, A-. It's always difficult on these when it's NYCFC back-to-back with Red Bulls. The last time I did this, I remember, I'm generally higher on the Red Bulls, but NYCFC had just beat the Red Bulls. Red Bulls have 30 points, 1 point ahead of NYCFC, but NYCFC have a game in hand. They have the same exact goal difference, all this. Like, they are very comparable. They have different styles, different everything else, but where they've got to they are. But these are two very good teams. The Red Bulls, Emil Forsberg has been everything as advertised. Dante Van Zieren, he's been good. He's not been DP good, though. I think I'm finally ready to sell my stock. But they have an open DP spot this summer. They could bring in a new center forward. I'm not poor John Tolkien. If only he waited a week to like some questionable things on Twitter, we'd never know. But there's that. And again, the Red Bulls, I'd put them slightly ahead of NYCFC, but we'll see where it goes. This should be a top 4 team in the East. The goal this season right now should be top 4. Because again, like I've said, Columbus are coming. And so Miami, Cincy, Columbus, I think are going to be in the top 4 in some order. And then Red Bulls, NYCFC, got to fight for that kind of home playoff game at number 4. So Red Bulls, I really, really like them. We'll see if, again, like it's been weird that their defense hasn't been so great. Like, they've conceded more goals than Columbus, Charlotte, NYCFC, and Cincy kind of all around them in this playoff race, which I'd take that trade-off after watching this team and neutrals and fans of the club probably too, because they've been much more fun going forward. But I think that they still have the foundation of a good defense. So we'll see if that is real or just a blip. Another F, Orlando City. Same thing as last time. I'm going to repeat myself. I don't understand how they've been this bad straight up. 17 points after 17 games. They still got another month till the transfer window opens. And because of that, like, they don't have a ton of flexibility as is. And if the team is going to be like this, I don't think, why would you mortgage your future for a team that's currently at the bottom of the East? They're 1 point ahead of New England, but New England have a game in hand. Like, this has been the biggest disappointment of 2024 for me. It was kind of going back and forth for a little while with New England, but now New England and them are on steady footing, and I thought Orlando were going to be better. And, like, don't know what to say. Facundo Torres hasn't been the same. Martino Hayda, it's like they're still trying to figure him out. He's been here for 18 months. Duncan McGuire's like their only reliable attacker, and he's ready to leave this summer. Like, if they keep saying he's not for sale, but we'll see what happens if offers come. So, Orlando City, I keep on saying the same stuff. I don't know what else to say, so I'm not going to say anything more. Philadelphia Union, I kind of am getting to that point with them. C-. That is definitely a little bit kind. I understand. It goes back to a belief that I just still think this team is good. There's just been a lot of inexplicable things that have happened. Again, they're 1 win, 3 draws, and 5 losses at home. That's crazy to me. What happened against Miami should never have happened. But even that, it's like, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of baffling things. And again, I was saying this about another team before. It's already lost my mind. That, like, I just think that they're a good team. And again, I could be wrong. This could be my bias of, like, not being able to let go of what my preconceived notions of this team was. But I just think that this is going to end up as a good team. And again, I'll eat crap in a couple months if, things continue to get worse. And they might continue to get worse because Julian Carranza is gone and they have a month before they can replace him. And guess what? Even when they do replace him, it's not like it's going to be a $7 million forward. So I have no idea what's going to happen here, but I still have too much respect and trust in Jim Curtin and Bedoya and Gazdag and Glesnes and Blake and Elliott and, like, Kai Wagner and just the foundation of this team. I've seen it too many times that they're going to keep getting the benefit of the doubt of me, even if, maybe I'm wrong. Portland Timbers, C+. Guess who got a couple clean sheets finally since we last talked on this one. So Portland Timbers, that attack is legitimately awesome. They can add a DP. The defense is legitimately bad, but they got a couple clean sheets in recent weeks. They're on 21 points level with rival Seattle Sounders for 9th place in the West. If you're looking up, like, Portland and St. Louis are trailing the playoff line. There's Seattle, there's Austin, Houston, Colorado, Vancouver. Those are the teams ahead. It's going to be a dogfight to see which of those teams make the playoffs because, again, I was saying Houston. I think they're a good team, right? I was criticizing Austin, but they've picked up the points that they have, and they're going to get better this summer. Seattle are on the upswing. Portland, I think, are on the upswing. St. Louis are making big additions this summer. Dallas are trying to add a new coach. Like, 3 of those 6 teams that I just listed aren't going to miss the playoffs. So it's going to be very difficult. And Portland need to keep on picking points as they transition. Like, they're going to be without Crepeau and Kamal Miller for the Copa America, which is difficult for a team that's already been bad defensively to be losing their starting goalkeeper and probably their best center back. But we'll see how that one goes. Again, they can add a DP this summer or another U22 initiative player if they want. Again, I love watching this team because their attack is great and their defensive bad, and that's fun for a neutral. But again, I'm sure that Phil Neville, front office, ownership, fans, all that would prefer if they were a little bit more boring defensively in that they weren't conceding so many goals. So we'll see how that one goes. Real Salt Lake, easy A. They are atop the Western Conference standings with 34 points. Best goal difference in the conference with 17. Best goal difference in the league with 17. Sorry, I didn't know them. Inter Miami had dipped below them or they got ahead. RSL, awesome. Just incredible. It's been so cool to watch. This team has deserved all the good that's happened for what they've done in terms of squad building and the coaching staff. Like Pablo Mastroeni deserves so much credit. Elliot Fall before he was let go, so much credit. Kurt Schmidt, new sporting director or current CSO. All this. Chicho Arango is, again, in that very, very small list of players behind Lionel Messi. It's like him, Lucho, Buanga, Pooch. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so I'm going to forget some players. But those are kind of some of the ones that come to mind as like just the very best. And Cucho, yep, did forget one. And Almada as like the best players outside of Lionel Messi. Like a very, very small list. He's in the MVP race, probably maybe atop of the MVP race, depending on who you talk to. RSL can add a DP this summer. I really hope they do. I really do. I know I've said this before. I'm going to keep saying it. This team is so good. Not only like they can be prime contenders in this league this season. And look, man, like I think Cincy would be my favorite for the Shield. Miami's obviously there. LAFC is going to be coming on late. RSL are in the mix. Go chase a trophy, please bring it. Bring in a DP. Like again, I don't want to turn this into a negative of like what if they don't, whatever, right? They've been awesome. This squad is so good, so complimentary. I just hope that they look at this chance and say, screw it, we're all in. Let's go win a trophy or let's go try. Let's do everything that we can. So at the end of the year, we're not looking back and be like, man, what if we made this deal? Or what if this player didn't get injured or whatever, right? Like, I hope to see it. They've been one of the most fun stories in the league this year. They are one of the most fun teams to watch. So long live Real Salt Lake. Seattle Sounders, C-. They've been coming on stronger lately. 21 points, like I was saying, after 18 games in 9th place in the West. They've had no Pedro de la Vega this season. If they're going to make some flexibility for some summer moves, it would have to be an outgoing. I think it's a possibility. This team, again, like the foundation is really solid. I know that they've been around a while, but let's see what Seattle does. I want to see a run of games for Pedro de la Vega. I hope that he doesn't keep getting hurt. I hope that we get to see that this season because he's a super talented, exciting young player. And then we'll see if they can keep growing. I think Seattle has a pretty high ceiling in this group just because of the defensive foundation. And if they add one really special player, again, if they can, that's a big if. I want a big if. Like, let's not pretend like that's an easy go trade for a super draft pick or whatever, right? But I think that the foundation is there where they could capitalize on a really good player, more so than some of the other teams around them. San Jose Earthquakes, this one's an F. Last time around, I had some optimism, and it's just very, very bad right now. 11 points, that's worse than MLS after 17 games. 43 goals conceded, that's worse than MLS. Negative 17 goal difference, that's worse in MLS. They're fun, I can say that. They try to play, they're open, but it's to their detriment. The defense is just so very bad, both schematically, individually, as a group, whatever. I don't have a ton to say. I think that it's so difficult to rule anybody out in MLS halfway through the season. But 10 points to 9th place feels already a bit of a hill to climb. Good news, Hernan Lopez, I think, has looked very good. They've got a lot of work to do defensively. They've got a lot of, I don't know what their next move is. It's been unfortunate, particularly with Daniel getting injured. Daniel wasn't good before he got injured this season, but last year he was so good. I had him as a finalist for top 3 for my goalkeeper of the year vote. And that could have changed some things this year, but I think 2024 has been lost. Sporting KC, 2024 has not been lost yet, but not far off. Sporting Kansas City, 14 points after 18 matches. I wouldn't be so optimistic about the outlook for the summer for any budget or much money coming in. That's what Kansas City does. They've been in a rut. 36 goals conceded. That's second worst in the West after San Jose Earthquakes. It's difficult. I don't think that this team has a high ceiling. I think that they overperformed at the end of last year. I think that they're underperforming now. I don't think that they're this bad, but I don't think that they're as good as they were over the last 2/3 of last year and then into the playoffs. So they have an open DP spot. I hope that they use it, but to be honest, I don't have a ton of optimism. Next up, St. Louis City, C-. This might be a little kind just because I'm looking at the summer. And I'm looking at the underlying numbers. This team has so many draws. They don't try to play for 0-0 or 1-1. So it's weird that they have so many draws. They have a lot of high-scoring draws, which is just statistically unlikely. They've regressed to the mean for some of their underlying numbers, but Roman Berkey is still a difference maker in goal. And I think the attack has a couple, I think things are going to get much better with Edouard Leuven back in the team after being injured. And again, his wife having diagnosed with cancer, just terribly sad. I stop in my tracks because it feels stupid to talk about St. Louis's, goals conceded, right? Like, who cares compared to that? But anyway, I think that their attack's going to get better. They have Cedric Teuchert already signed. They're working on Marcel Hardo. I think that those two signings are going to make a big, big difference for this team. So maybe I'm a little bit optimistic at C-. Toronto FC, I'm dropping them off to a B- because they're kind of up and down. 30 goals conceded. That's the most of any team currently above the playoff line in the East. The only team above the playoff line in either conference that has more goals conceded is Colorado Rapids. But Toronto FC are still significantly better than we thought they were going to be. The buy-in, again, we're just going to keep saying the same things about Insigne and Bernadeschi, so I'll probably cut myself off so I don't keep saying the same things. But, again, don't let the, the loss to Chicago or whatever else has happened to this team, don't let that obscure the fact of this is an absolute huge success. Unless at the bottom completely falls out and they fall out of the playoffs and they fall out of and things go bad and things go sideways off the field as well. That's the only way that this season from here on out is a failure. This is a success. Things have gone very well. This was supposed to be a transitional year. John Herdman has been every bit of the great decision to be a coaching hire. There's still more to come in this team as they keep on overturning rosters and they keep on replenishing their allocation money because the previous regime was pulling it forward as they were trying to save their jobs. So Toronto FC, B-. Vancouver Whitecaps, last one, C. And again, this was probably a little bit mean, but it comes to me where I look at the teams around them. Minnesota are 4 points ahead, so they have that cushion. Colorado are even on points. I think Colorado's better. Houston Dynamo, 23. Austin, 23. Again, that's only 2 points behind. All these other teams, I can kind of see the next step. I can see, okay, this is how they could be better. I'm worried that this is Vancouver's ceiling. That just a 4th to 6th in the West, going to be a difficult team to eliminate in the playoffs, but a team that you will eliminate, just SLAFC. Again, this wasn't meant to me just crapping on Vancouver, but I'm just trying to justify why I view it as it is. On the positive side, a lot of players that I like. They do have a DP spot open. Vanni Sartini told Extra Time that they're not going to fill it. I don't know why. But, again, if you drop the DP center forward into this group, whether it's, somebody that can play off of Brian White as a traditional 9, and Ryan Gauld, what I love so much about him is he could play so many different roles and be really, really good at it. If they dropped another DP in that group, this team would jump up. And maybe that's just my own disappointment. Again, my bias coloring this silly little grading exercise, but that's kind of where I'm at with the Vancouver Whitecaps. And with that, I'm not going to break out of the full screen, out of this little screen. I'm just going to say thank you all for listening. I hope to have more stuff here. Again, tune into Soccer-Wise, all that stuff. I'm going to try to have more and more different types of content, and hopefully there'll be some news in the near future. We'll see what's going on, and I appreciate you all so very much.